Throwaway account for obvious reasons, new user, no abbreviations. This happened in the late 90s, so enough time has elapsed to safely disclose. I had a friend back then who had been widowed for 4 years. She told me her story of victimization at the hands of her abusive and violent husband. She was mid-20s when her husband died. She was married to a man 20 years her senior. They married when she was still a teenager, and they had a 5-year-old son when her husband died. Her husband was an abusive and violent man who kept tight control over her and the boy. Though he never physically abused the child, he was emotionally abusive and very threatening toward their son. He saved the physical violence for his wife alone. During their marriage, she had been savagely beaten many times. She had permanent scars on her body and had been hospitalized several times with broken bones and other serious injuries. She was in fear of her life every day. She was so controlled she was a slave in her own home, fearful of ever stepping out of line. One form of control was to always know where she was at any given moment, and if she ever had to leave the house to shop or run errands, she would be timed. She was given a time frame to be back in the house, and if she was even just 1 minute late, she would be severely beaten. Her husband was a licensed gun owner who owned a legal rifle and ammunition as he enjoyed hunting, and he would take that rifle, hold it to her head, and tell her that if she ever attempted to leave him, he would hunt her down and kill both her and their son. As well as the beatings, he would sometimes take the rifle, hold it to her head, and pull the trigger. It was unloaded, but that did not diminish the terror she experienced each time, she told me. She said she was left in no doubt at all that if she ever ran, he would find them and kill them both. Another weapon he used against her was to threaten suicide if she ever left. Many abusers use the manipulation tool of threatening suicide or self-harm to keep their victims tethered to them. When abusers threaten suicide or self-harm, they are causing the fear to rise within victims so that they don't leave. In this way, threats of suicide are being used as a method of control. It's an incredibly common manipulation tactic used by people with borderline personality disorder, among other issues. Her husband did have dangerous medication in the house, I don't know what it was, and he would handle his bottle of pills whenever he issued a suicide threat. One day she had to leave the house to shop for food. On the way back, she was caught in traffic that delayed her return to the house within the time frame she had been given. She said the fear and panic was intense because she knew she would return to another serious beating. She said it felt like her insides were being ripped out of her body as she pulled into the driveway 10 minutes late. She said she walked into the house in a state of blind panic, anticipating the beating when she saw him. He was motionless on the couch with the open bottle of pills on the floor beside him. She said she stood there and looked at him with a million thoughts of panic running through her head. Then she made her decision. She went to the other couch and sat down and looked at him, and she said at that moment her heart was pounding in her chest. She knew what he had done it once before. She was supposed to walk in and find him breathing but unconscious and in a state of panic, call an ambulance for him just like the last time. But this time she was 10 minutes late home. Last time she got him help in time, but this time she just looked at him. He wasn't breathing, no rise and fall of his chest. She said she looked at the clock on the wall and sat there looking at him, overcoming the panic and emotions, and stayed sitting there till 10 minutes had passed, till she knew he could not be resuscitated, and only then did she walk to the phone and make the call. She said the emergency services and police saw her obvious distress, the crying, the panic, the breakdown, and assumed it was a wife in distress at losing her husband. They didn't know they watching someone who had just been rescued, someone who was at last free. The authorities did not doubt suicide as it was on record that he had tried it once before. That is the story of how one abused young wife and mother finally became free.